All right, everybody. Well, hey, hope you guys are all doing well this Monday evening on Happy Columbus Day to you all. Excited to have you guys here on our latest episode of the Monday Note. For those of you that are just tuning in, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time and what part of the country or world you're watching us in. These are always recorded and rock and roll along every week with usually new topics and new guest speakers. So let's get rocking and rolling here. For you guys, if you have questions, feel free to ask your questions in the box provided on the GoToWebinar scene. Right? Hey, David, good to have from you guys from Boston. That's awesome. Glad you guys liked the earlier music while you were waiting for us to get rock and rolling here. Ask you guys all if you're interested to connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Google+, Vimeo. For those of you guys that are looking for the replays, because every week we get requests on how to access these videos. You can literally go to, I've got it pulled up here for you, go to vimeo.com/WeCloseNotes. Vimeo.com/WeCloseNotes. That's what my homepage looks like. 200 plus videos, I believe, on there for you. I'm not sure because some of these are private, so it may be less than 286. But for those of you guys that listened in last Monday night, we had the Monday Note there, the final countdown, talking about what to do with your last 90 days of the year. And then on Wednesday, we followed up with a call about asset managers reaching out products to the banks directly. And literally, that was a 3-hour recording live webinar. We had several hundred people. We actually maxed out on the phone lines as people watched me for 3 hours make phone calls to asset managers and hedge funds. So hopefully you all enjoyed that. You can go and catch those there. I would highly recommend that we go there. You go ahead and subscribe to follow me on a regular basis. Let's see, we got a question, Jerome. Are more notes sold in the fourth quarter than any other time of the year? Yeah, usually they are, Jerome, because the banks are looking to get rid of their stuff and get it off their books or move it of some sort. So, yeah, definitely fourth quarter is also really busy. While you're there at Vimeo, you can also check out our recent episode of the Note Closers with Don DeMarco down here. It's just over 40 minutes long. Don is out of Maryland and talks about how he invests in Florida, other parts of the country. Huge success, somebody especially has 30 plus years in the real estate industry, somebody you can definitely learn from. He's been through their ups and downs and things like that. But take a second, follow me on Vimeo there. We also have a new YouTube channel, youtube.com/WeCloseNotes as well, or One We Close Notes there for you as we're uploading videos there for you guys to be able to watch. Make sure to share those things, comments, post from your Facebook if it's something you enjoy. Just here trying to see what you guys appreciate, what you guys learn from the most. All righty? So you can follow us on those different social media websites. All right, let's move back here. Whoops, flip through this stuff here. As always, we do have an upcoming virtual workshop. It's the last workshop of 2015. It's going to be another virtual one. We thought we'd have a live one on Anaheim, and just the overwhelming response has led us to, hey, we're just going to have another virtual workshop. It's November 13th through 15th. You want to mark your calendars down. November 13th through 15th. 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. Obviously, Central Time. I'll be a little bit early on the West Coast. 10 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast. Trying to accommodate everybody. There are early bird sales right now. We're running it at $4.99. It's $100 off the normal $5.99 price. Now, if you're going to want to repeat there, we're going to do something a little bit different. Since it is the last workshop of the year, starting tomorrow, if you want to repeat the virtual, we're going to ask you to make a donation. We're going to either make a donation we're going to be doing a Toys for Tots drive. We always like to do something with the kids around the first part of December. So we're going to make Toys for Tots drive. You're going to make either a donation to repeat, or we're going to start pricing off at the repeat price. For those that are taking the class before, $1 going up from there. So if you want to donate more than that, that's completely fine. Love to have it. We're going to go up and buy toys first part of December and take them to the Marines for Toys for Tots. So if you want to repeat the workshop, we're really excited about some of the speakers and the guest members are going to be on this coming virtual workshop, which is literally, what is today? Today is the 12th. So it's literally just over a month away. It's hard to believe that. Less than that, specifically when you figure in Halloween thrown in there. So you guys are probably going to dress up and go become pretty kind of cool. So anyway, that's the upcoming workshop for you guys. You can also connect with other note investors if you guys are looking to connect with others, going to the LinkedIn Note Closers group. It's an open group for investors. check it out. Just go and Google Note Closers Group when you're in LinkedIn, or search for it on LinkedIn, and you'll find a couple hundred investors on there. Great way to share information, post deals, things like that. Also, we get a lot of people who responded last week said, "Hey, Scott, it's great about you showing us how to reach out to asset managers, but how do I raise capital for stuff?" So I wanted to bring this back up. So if you guys are looking to raise capital, there's a couple things you can do. We have a ton of cash investors available. We're literally going out there employing IRA investors in just about every county across the United States. Some will have anywhere from 100 all the way up to like 19,000, depending on the county you're looking at. But we've been doing this for a little while now, starting to deliver these out to those people that order and get a lot of rave reviews from investors. We're pulling IRA investors in each county. It's $2 per lead if you're interested, which it'll cost you more than that to send a letter out to people. We're looking for a 500 minimum order, so it's a $1,000 order. Give you 3 to 5 business days. It'll take that to pull, run everything through, and send it back to you depending on the county. But with that, we're providing name, address, and email. Name, physical address, and email. And in some cases, we're able to pull the actual phone numbers of these IRA investors. So if you need a sample email or letter or something like that, we're glad to send that along, something we use in our marketing for you guys to be able to reach out and raise capital from IRA investors. There's literally 29 million people out there with a net worth of $100,000 or greater there for you. Those people are the biggest prime, really low-hanging fruit for real estate investors to tap into. Because of the fact that they have an IRA, know that they're ready to move into something and really kind of turn maybe their 401k that's a 101k back into something that's performing. Because you'd be surprised how many people have money just sitting around not doing anything. And it's up to you guys, being the smart, savvy real estate investors you are, to help out, going out and invest it. So if you're interested in that, let us know. We've dumped a ton of money to develop on this. We're really excited about the turnout so far. Giving you guys some opportunity to do some things as well. So email me at scott@weclosenotes.com. So if you're interested, let us know. Any county, we can literally jump online and get a rough estimate on the front end, see how many IRA investors in a specific county or two for you, and help you make a decision on what county you should be marketing. So go from there. All right, let's dive into today's the Monday night, everybody. Do you have any questions before we get rock and rolling on our main subject tonight? Everybody a chance here to write questions down. We have amazing ideas. All right, well, then, there's a question popped up. Is there a shortage? We have a question here. Is there a shortage of high quality first? Gabe, what do you mean by high quality? You talking about higher value stuff or decent properties or what? Over $40,000. No, there's not a shortage. The thing to keep in mind with $100,000 properties or greater, those are the big stuff that a lot of these hedge funds have gone after right off the bat. All right. So, I take that back. If notes are being sold out there in these large bulks, so that's what the hedge funds are going after. They're going for the $100,000, $150,000 plus greater fair market value, depending on the area of the country they're in. All right. That's why I believe there's a lot of money made in the sub value. So I know that with you, Gabe, especially with some of your private money guys, they're looking at stuff that's over what $250,000 or greater. They want to do that. So yeah, you may run into a shortage of that because those values, especially if you pick something up that's 50, 60 cents on the dollar of that, those hedge funds are going to hold on to those things because that's where the price is. All right, that's where a big chunk of value. So you've got to alter your numbers to play in this game. I know that you like higher value stuff, but hey, honestly, you may be bidding on 1, 2 assets versus 100 come the fourth quarter of the year. Okay. Kevin Keithley's asking, Closed Notes Group on LinkedIn. Well, is that the name? No, Note Closers Group. The Note Closers Group, Kevin. All right. Gabe, we can talk offline more tomorrow if you want to. All right. Jerome asked a question. Does the SEC prevent us from taking money from out-of-state investors? No, we're not. Jerome, we're not going to get into that right now, buddy. That's a question for later on. Give me a phone call to discuss. All right. If you're reaching out to talk to people about investing in different things, there's specific ways you want to do it, and we'll go through that. All right. So anyway, let's get on to the subject that you guys are all dialed in here on a Monday night, waiting for the Steelers to lose to the freaking Chargers later. Or those Astros fans that are crying in their beer here now, which I was one of those, along with the Texas Rangers getting kind of whooped on by the Woo, Toronto Blue Jays earlier with those first inning home runs. But anyway, I'm excited for today's special guest. Today's special guest is a buddy of mine that is just an amazing, amazing individual doing some great things out there. He's currently from Jupiter, Florida, which is down by South Florida, north of Broward County, Fort Lauderdale, that neck of the woods. He's originally from New Jersey, so don't hold that against him. You'll probably figure that out with him talking immediately on some things. But he's got over 20 plus years in the real estate industry. All right. And I've been buying assets from him for a couple years now, I guess 3-4 years now, since I've known him. And he just does an amazing job with what he does. Very transparent, straight shooter, which is what you all want in the note industry, guys, especially when you're dealing with traders. Now, we talked about going after asset managers last week on the Monday Note. Well, this week we've brought in a guy who's working with different hedge funds to help you actually take things down. He was a previous director of loan sales at RSI Asset Management out of Florida as well, which was sold for several funds down in South Florida, New York, neck of the woods. And so he is the principal of the Note Depot, which I'm sure maybe some of you had figured that out from my earlier email. But let's give our buddy Joe DeSilva a warm round of applause for taking time on a Monday night Columbus Day. Surprised you're not out and playing golf tonight, Joe, or earlier today.
Well, actually, I was out before you and I connected about an hour ago. So.
Well, how'd you shoot, man? How'd you shoot?
Well, I went out and did a little practicing today. So, you got to balance out the play with the practice, as you well know.
Amen. I love that. Well, Joe, we're excited to have you. Now, everybody that's on the call tonight, now's a chance for you to be able to ask somebody who's been trading notes and doing a variety of different things in real estate here to ask them some questions. So, Joe, why don't you take a few minutes, give everybody that's on the call here a few minutes, talk about your past and kind of how you got into the market and things like that and what's going on with the Note Depot.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you once again for a great opportunity, not only for me, but certainly for your listeners. I hope each and every one of them realizes, and I say this sincerely, what an asset you are to the non-performing note business. For people who are just entering this arena and needing somebody to wrap their arms around, a big wrap, I will say, but somebody to wrap their arms around and learn the business, feel comfortable about the business, and have someone that they can rely on when they have a question. Scott, you are a monument as far as that availability, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I'm not saying it because you provided me this opportunity. I've been in sales and business for over 45 years. I was an automobile dealer for 25 years. Had my first dealership when I was 29 years old. My brother was 24, which was totally unheard of. We were self-starters. Our dad was not a dealer. So I know what it is to start from the bottom and learn and need a mentor along the way that you can confide in. So for that, my hat is off to you. From the car business, I learned an awful lot and sold out. My brother's still a dealer. Sold out to him and to another gentleman, and then moved to Florida. Got into real estate business, got into development business actually with the Ritz-Carlton. I was one of 3 members of the original development team here in Jupiter where we developed the Ritz-Carlton Golf Club and Spa, which today is a Trump property, actually. There I got into real estate development, construction, building highline, estate homes, and then was introduced to the NPL business. Bill and I, Bill Bymel from RSI, connected. He introduced me to the business. I had the pleasure of meeting you and so many others, and really enjoyed what I saw in the opportunity that was presented out there.
Right.
And Bill and I worked a number of years together and sold many notes as a tandem. And then I said to myself, I think there's an opportunity out there where there could be a void that could be filled. And what that void was, and I hope I'm not off base on this because we're still in the infancy of it, I saw an opportunity where a lot of your smaller investors, the people who I had sold notes to and got very friendly with, the 2 and 3 and 4 one-offers who were funding their IRA accounts and looking for JV partners, they were on the acquiring side. I filled that void, certainly partially, with my role at RSI. But over time, I'm saying to myself, where do these people go when they're ready to sell those assets? They don't have that big platform or database that they can immediately throw that asset out there and say, hey, I've got a family crisis here. I need to liquidate this. I need to move it. And I didn't see anybody else providing that platform. So now I come along, and I've always thought from my original days of doing business, starting with cars, people like to do business with people who make it easy.
Amen to that.
And not only easy, are very transparent and very basic in the delivery. So now I come up with the idea of the Note Depot, and I say to myself, well, what could be more easy than building an inventory base by reaching out to sellers, small-time sellers as well as big-time, and say to them, hey, look, board your inventory with me at the Note Depot. Won't put it out there for public consumption, but you boarded it with me privately for no fee. And build up a buyer base by way of the buyer profiles and NDAs, which I'm hopeful that many of your listeners who are on this webinar today are a part of. So now I've got somewhat of a vetted buyer base. Hopefully in time, and here's my one void right now, is building up more of that seller inventory. But that seller inventory now comes available to me. And the Note Depot comes in from a real estate perspective and fills what we know as the MLS between buyers and sellers. We're not a party to the transaction, but we're the Cupid to the transaction and bring both parties together. And when I bring those parties together, I'm just a little more involved in the MLS because the seller has provided me with a reserve number. I will query my database and see who's interested in assets in the area that that seller has provided them. And then I will send out, because they're pre-qualified, that tape to those individuals. They in turn will bid. I know what the seller is looking for. When they give me a bid, if it's below, I'm certainly not going to negate it. I'm going to go to the seller and say, hey, we got a bid below reserve. What do you want to do from there? So I will effectively still look to negotiate the deal to hopefully get a meeting of the minds. Once we get the meeting of the minds, then I will provide them with the Dropbox link to the collateral. We'll provide them up to 14 days to do their due diligence. Once the due diligence is completed, I will provide them with the wire instructions from the seller, so their funds, after they have peace of mind doing their own due diligence, will go directly to the seller. I don't touch funds. The only fund I touch is a transaction fee, which can be as high as $500 or as low as 10% of the selling price of the asset. So if the asset's a $3,000 asset, the transaction fee is $300. But I'm always a party to it in the background and connect the two groups together and give that seller an opportunity to get their asset out to a larger database that I have built up over time. That's the Cliff Note version, if you will, of what the Note Depot was all about.
Totally is. I mean, you're doing you've done a great job in the industry for years, Joe, of being. Somebody says, "God bless you."
God bless me or God bless you?
I don't know. Hopefully they're not saying that to me while I'm here, but hopefully they're saying that to you, man, because you do run a transparent neck of the woods. So let's talk about. You brought up a good thing recently, where you're giving people basically 14 days to do their due diligence, and I've harped on what they need to be doing. Why don't we talk a little bit about some of the things that they need to be working on during that period, Joe?
Well, what I want to do is once we've got that meeting of the minds on the number, and I provide them the link to the collateral that the seller has provided on their behalf to assist in their due diligence, I cannot speak enough, and I know you go through this with your classes. I think at times, from my own past experience, many buyers take the due diligence period too lightly.
Yeah, totally.
This is your time for the buyer to beware. Be sure, even though I'm telling you I know the seller and he signed my agreement, I only know him to a certain extent. Do your own due diligence to have a comfort level that you know I want to do business with this seller. What I will tell you is the seller has shared with me that he does in fact have all his collateral in-house that we're sharing, and within 30 days you should have a smooth transition to your servicer once the funding has been completed. But by all means, go through the due diligence and strike a comfort level within yourself. The other thing that I have said to my sellers that I want to make sure they're aboard with is once we've reached an agreement on pricing and I've shared the collateral with you, meaning the buyer, I am not in a position to answer to that collateral.
Right.
Where are we in the foreclosure process? You mentioned something about a deed in lieu on the comments area on the tape. Where are we with that? Certainly I don't have that information, and I am not going to put myself in a position to try to share something that I don't have firsthand update on. So my sellers know that when they've provided that inventory to me and you have those questions, I now am going to put the buyer and seller together in contact so they can ask their questions back and forth. You know, some have said to me, well, you know, you leave yourself exposed that they could push you out and do the transaction directly. You know what? That's all about transparency. That's the peace of mind I come to the equation with. If you want to push me out and do it directly, you'll only do it one time to me. You're not going to do it a second time. But I just want this thing to work and be as fair as the playing field can be.
Right. Totally makes sense. So, and that's the thing. It's a small enough world out here. A lot of us all communicate back and forth and say, hey, who's this guy? Are they real? Are they not real? Are they going to go around you? Or, hey, don't do business with this person because they are going to, try to screw you in the back. And so a couple of things as well, too. During that period of time, you guys, a lot of times the spreadsheets will have a number on there as far as a value that the hedge funds have pulled. You guys still need to double check your values. Trust but verify, I guess is the one thing to say, especially when you're dealing with somebody you've dealt with on a regular basis. But, the thing you guys have to keep in mind, too, I get a lot of, well, the guy's BPO came at 48 and my realtor says we're 45. I'm like, oh, Jesus, come on. Is a $3,000 difference in value going to be a big difference? Has your realtor driven by the asset to understand what's going on? Are the taxes paid up to date? Have you pulled a title update, things like that? Those are all things that need to be done within that 2-week period. But the biggest things you guys as investors have to do is get on that. Pick up the phone, call the taxing authority. Don't rely on, oh, hey, Joe, you said the spreadsheet only showed $1,600 in taxes, but I found out there's $6,000 owed in different things. That's not Joe's business to be doing that. That's up to you guys as investors to be doing that out there as well. Now, Joe, a lot of people, we talked last week too, also a little about raising capital. We talked in the last couple of weeks or two. People don't need to be making bids until they've got investors ready to roll. Correct, Joe?
Yes, and I'm glad you brought that up. A couple of comments on your statements just previously here. Let's go back to the BPOs.
Right.
Certainly the sellers at times, 99% of the time, will provide their BPO that I have on the tape. How accurate is that BPO? Well, I always used to tell people when I was at RSI, the first buyer who calls me up and says, man, my BPO came in a lot higher than yours, I was going to have a coronary right in the chair. So the buyer's BPO generally always comes in less. That's a given.
Right.
When it comes to valuation, when I ask the people on this call to come and realize or be apprised of, do your own homework before you make an offer.
Yeah.
Don't make an offer just based on percentages. You see a BPO for $50,000, you're comfortable for bidding at 40%, so you're going to make an offer at $20,000. I move that $20,000 forward to the seller accepts it, and then you say, oh, geez, I took a closer look. It's really only worth $10,000. Well, I would have rather have you at the $10,000 before you even made the offer.
Yeah.
Sellers remember that. They want to deal with people who are sincere and ready to make a deal. So do some minor legwork. I don't want to see you go into serious expense to value the asset before you got a price. But for a couple of bucks, you can get a realtor to drive by and give you a gut feeling, and then do whatever your calculations are to make an offer that somewhat makes sense, subject to the usual due diligence. This is what we need to have you do. The second point that Scott just raised, and this is another issue that I used to come to, when you make an offer and you're dealing with JV partners or whatever, have everything in line. Don't make an offer that I'm working the seller to accept. I finally get him to yield, and when I come back to you, you tell me, hey, that's great. I'm waiting to hear from a JV partner to see if we can go forward. That doesn't work for me.
Mm-mm.
You need to position yourself to be in a state where you're ready to close a deal. This isn't a game. It's a real thing, and again, sellers will recognize those who are sincere, have done their homework, and are ready to close. Those who take an asset off the market and aren't ready to close, sellers don't like that.
No, they don't. And you guys have to keep that seriously in mind. This is why we do so much talking and teaching on marketing to help you get your database ready to roll, to start reaching out to them beforehand. You guys have to be ready to roll. You can't sit here, hey, I'm good, you're ready to go. Well, let me go out and raise the capital now. No, it does not work that way. You will lose more face that way than anything else. Well, I can't close on it because my funding partner didn't go. Look, we all have funding partners that walk. That will happen from time to time. And if that, as long as you've done your part in the front end, you've got people or gotten a backup to a backup. You guys should always have a backup investor to fund a deal, because if you're getting the right price and the right things on it, if you're doing the right marketing, you're going to have multiple people ready to fund your deals out there. All right? Definitely fund your deals.
Scott, from my perspective, when I'm dealing with somebody, and many of your students have been phenomenal over the years, you certainly have taught them the right basics, and they know the playing field. Uh-huh. When I'm dealing with one of them, and I know I'm dealing with a sincere participant on the buying side, it puts me in a stronger position, whether I was with Bill Bymel at RSI or with undisclosed sellers at this point, to say, hey, I know this guy. He's a real player. He's done his due diligence. Absent anything that none of us know about, chances are real good that he's going to close.
Right.
And to that same degree, one other thing I'd like to address is the agreement itself. You and I have done a number of transactions together, and again, many of your people on the webinar hopefully have done business with me in the past. Here's the essence of the agreement. Once we reach an agreed price, I immediately will generate an agreement. I send that agreement out immediately. The effective date of that agreement will not be for 14 days from today in this example. But I ask them to sign the agreement today, because what it says is, A, now I know we've agreed at a price, because the price is in the agreement, and B, I know you and I are on the same page that you are going to perform your due diligence during this period.
Right.
And C, 14 days from now, we expect to be funded. 13 days from now, if something's come up and there's hair in the file and you don't want to go forward, It's as simple as a phone call. Joe, I've decided not to go forward. From my perspective, no harm done. That was our understanding. I know where you're at, and we move forward. But day 14, if I haven't heard from you, that agreement is then a binding contract in our eyes, and we expect to be funded on the 14th day. It's very clean. It's very transparent, and they just need to do their work. Now, if they need a couple of days, they ran into an issue or whatever, certainly I haven't come across a seller who's not willing to yield a day or two, to make the thing work. But that's basically the essence of the play.
Cool. People have any questions right now for Joe? Now it's a good time to be typing your questions they're going to have for Joe out there. Now, Joe, are you doing both residential commercial deals, or are you just currently residential deals on the Note Depot?
That is a great question. And actually, I was going to speak to you offline on this. It's really interesting to me, Scott, how many people have contacted me in regard to commercial. They have no place to go. And I'm quick to say, hey, look, I'm a neophyte out of the wrapper with this thing. It's been out there 2.5 months or 3 months, and with over 45 years of experience, I learned a long time ago, you need to crawl before you can start walking, and certainly before you start running. So I need to get traction with this, which is single-family, first position NPLs and reperformers. But there is a market out there for commercial. I can see, who knows, 6 months, 8 months down the line, where maybe I'll open this up to commercial.
Right.
The platform makes sense. If people go to the notedepot.com, I've broken it out as simple as you can see. It's so benign. Just register with me as a buyer. If you're a seller, and I encourage you, if you got any assets, 1, 2, 3, or 4, and you're ready to sell them, please put them out with me, and we can do things together.
Cool. Couple questions you're rolling in. Peter asked a question, what kind of things do you recommend we do for due diligence? Well, Peter, as we've just discussed, you need to be checking values. You need to check the taxes. All right. And then you need to be pulling a title update, making sure that there's nothing outstanding on title that's going to keep you from being able to foreclose on. So those are the 3 major things that you're going to want to do. All right. As far as your exit strategies, you need to know your exit strategies for the market. Is it going to be to foreclose? Is it being modified? Is it in a hardest hit fund state? Do you want to foreclose and turn this into a rental? That's individually up to you, and probably a better question to answer at a later time or the phone call on some things. David asked a question here, Joe. Are you seeing anything in the Northeast recently?
No. You're New York, you're New Jersey. I don't see much. I had a few from our mutual friends at USMR.
Right.
They're no longer available. The best thing that I can say to anybody at this point is, by all means, don't wait until I put something out in LinkedIn and say, hey, I have some Northeast NPLs available. Get registered with me. Circle a specific state you have interest in. So as soon as they're released to me, I can release them to you. And if you have people who are sellers, please encourage them to get involved with the Note Depot so we can build our inventory up and make more available to all of you.
Sure. Great point. And I'll also give a response to that. David, I just don't see a lot of stuff up in the Northeast, like New England area, up in your Boston, Massachusetts area. I rarely see anything up in the neck of the woods. And if I do, it's small, and it's usually got some ugly hair on it for the most part. You got to start looking outside of your own markets, everybody. If you're in an area where you're not seeing a lot of notes and you're not comfortable going outside your market, then you probably need to find something else to do. And that's not being offensive or being an ass in any way. It's just literally, hey, as a note investor, you got to get comfortable doing things outside your own market. There's plenty of great markets out there to get some things going. That kind of leads us into the next question from Kevin. The inventory that you've seen, is it in a particular geographic area or primarily in one market more than others? Joe, what are the all right, let's just talk about, say, let me tweak that question a little bit. What are you seeing probably the top 5 markets for inventory over the last couple of years?
Certainly, Florida I would put up there as number one.
Right.
Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Then I had a run there for a while with Detroit, Michigan,
Mm-hmm.
and Indiana. Those particular bases. Those were primarily the four key: Florida, Georgia, Detroit, Indiana. I would say that was where the majority that I was seeing in the last few years was coming from.
Sure, that makes sense. Completely agree with that. You're just selling notes? You're not selling REOs, correct?
You know, I will put REOs out there if somebody has an REO asset. I mean, my platform is so flexible.
Right.
All I have to do is expand the tape. Right now, I just sent out a few NPLs from Florida and a reperformer from Georgia.
Right.
I can add REOs if somebody's got REOs. And, you know, as I build on my base and establish a rapport with a lot of these people, as I've also suggested on the website, I can help join JV partners along the way who haven't met each other. As I say, I genuinely see this site as a Cupid opportunity for people who are looking to engage the special asset arena.
Right. Now, are you seeing any contract for deed tapes? We got a question from Joseph who asked a question. You mentioned non-performing.
I didn't hear that one, Scott.
I'm sorry, what?
Say that one again?
Are you getting any contract for deed tapes?
No, I have not seen any of those as of yet.
Okay. Let's see here. Pamela asks, does Joe have tapes from banks and hedge funds also? You're primarily getting your inventory from hedge funds, correct, Joe?
Yes. Right. As of right now, it's hedge funds. My hope is as the word spreads through webinars like this and different contacts, that the banks may have a select group that they may turn out to us as opposed to looking to sell them to a hedge fund and see if they can maximize their return by a platform such as this. I may be mistaken, Scott. You would know better than me. Is there a platform out there like this? We're not an auction site.
No. I mean, you've got some different websites like auction.com or DebtX, but that's a whole different ballgame. Like auction.com will only sell portfolios of notes off DebtX. You've got to go through quite a bit of they're selling pools off on DebtX as well, plus you've got to pay a $500 to $1,000 registration fee to be a registered bidder with them. Let's see, here's more questions. I love the questions people are asking. Henry asked a question. So a buyer can hold up a pool of notes for 13 days. Could the seller get hurt by this process? Well, Henry, one thing I realized, if somebody's reaching out to Joe and he's got a portfolio of stuff, so he's putting a big bid on it, Joe, there's a few things you're going to ask from that person before you officially put them under contract. Correct, Joe?
Oh, yeah. Needless to say, we need to know we're dealing with somebody who's sincere and not just looking to tie up assets for 13 days. If you can sneak by me by doing that, you're only going to do it once. And you will be out there, then everybody will know all about you. And I think Scott mentioned something which, in my 3 years in this business, I have truly come to recognize. This is a very close fraternity, this NPL group.
Yeah.
When you go to conferences and all, you see the same people, you know the level of sincerity, and those who return are the ones who are doing business the right way. The ones who are not, they disappear. So if you try to play some of these foolish little games, you may get us one time, but you're certainly not going to get us a second.
No. And a lot of us, I get a lot of phone calls from people like Joe and other people that are trying to move some stuff. Like, hey, is this guy or this gal legit? And I'm like, well, no, they're not. I mean, I literally got a phone call the other day from a hedge fund in New York. It was like, who is this idiot talking bad about me? I'm like, huh? Who? And I was like, oh, well, I don't know. I don't think they agree with something you said on Facebook or something like that. I know that person. I'm like, what? I'm about to blacklist them. I'm like, I wouldn't necessarily go that far, but let's try to smooth this thing out. So it's a small world, people. Question.
Yeah, it is.
Kevin asked a question. If we have notes we want to acquire, can we send to you and you'll contact the note holder? Are you talking, Kevin? Are you like just pulling stuff off the MLS or distressed assets? Because I'm not understanding the question. Because if it's a list that Joe has, yes, you can contact Joe, say, hey, I want to buy that note that you got on that list, but it's just not. If you're just jumping on the foreclosure list, so, oh, hey, this one bank's got this for sale, we're getting ready to foreclose on, we'll try to buy it. No, Joe's not going to do that for you, especially not for the price that he was quoting you guys as a fee for you. No, he's there to sell the ones that he's got. Kevin, exactly, Kevin. No, Kevin says, no, I have properties where I want to acquire the NPL. You're going to have to do that, my friend, okay? Joe's not going to be your hired bird dog to go out and try to do that, all right? Depending on who the banks are, nobody's going to sell them to you, depending on who the banks are, all right? But good question. All right. Question. Chris asked a question. Are these first and seconds? Do you require the sellers to be direct?
Yeah, well, that's another great question. If you go to the website, you'll see that I pretty much emphasize the fact that I'm looking to deal only with direct sellers for sure, and ideally with direct buyers. I don't want to get involved with brokers. I want to be involved with the decision makers. So yes, direct is the key word here. The only offset from direct would be JV partners, which that's, another form of direct. But you discuss with your JV partner what you want to discuss, or certainly conference calls are always applicable. But no, I'm not looking for a broker circus here. Yeah. That's one of the things we all come to find over time. When there's too many layers of involvement, there is not enough fat in these NPLs, especially today, to get everybody involved.
Yeah, that's totally the truth there. You can't have 2-3 layers removed. So yeah, Joe's dealing direct, everybody. I can vouch for that direct, definitely. Question here: do you deal with any special servicers like Aquin? David asks.
I've reached out to Aquin to see if they would be interested in placing some of their assets with me. Have I gotten any of their assets as we speak? No, I have not, but being a diligent business person, I will continue to reach out and see if we can cross that hurdle and get some of their stuff available. So I'm always looking for sources, of course, because this business is only successful to the point that I have inventory to make available to my buyers. I can have all the buyers in the world. If I have no inventory, we're not going anywhere.
Right, totally agree with that. If you ever ask the question, are all your notes off market? I'm going to say yes, they're not listed on LoopNet or the MLS or anything like that. They're all off market stuff. They're all basically owners have these assets. They're looking to move them off, and they move them to Joe. Question here from Steve. When we sign up with our states of interest, will we get automatic updates when there's deals in the states that we want are available?
Well, when you're another great question. If they have not filled out a buyer profile with me, then they don't know. In the profile, I ask you to circle the specific states you have interest in. I then take that profile and take that data and load it into my database. So when I get a tape of assets from a seller and he has Georgia NPLs, I will query Georgia buyers within my database. In my mind, you've been pre-qualified because you sent me the profile and I have an NDA in place. I will automatically continue to send you those Georgia assets. It's up to you if you have interest to respond.
Right.
After time, 6 or 7 months, if I haven't heard from you, and some of you who maybe had done business with me at RSI know, I'm going to send you an email and make sure you're alive and you're still out there, because I want to keep my database active.
Right.
I want to make sure you continue to have interest and see where we may be missing the mark and why you haven't put out a bid on anything.
Right. For those of you that are watching here, I just went to the website here, and he's got his buyer profile and NDA here. I'm just going to open it up here, Joe. I'm sure you can see it on your side there as well. So,
yep.
You can see here, this is a pretty easy form for you guys to fill out. Your, federal tax ID number, state of doing business in. Now, Joe, would you sell a note to an individual, or do they have to have an LLC or entity of some sort?
I'll sell the note. I mean, I'm not selling them. I'm putting the seller in touch with them. But yeah, we'll represent anybody, whether it's an individual or LLC, whatever entity that they've formed their business in. We're good with that.
Yeah. So this
profile should not scare them away. There's 3 pages there of directions.
Yeah.
Basically, what I'm looking for in that profile is your contact information, some of your history, the state you're looking to do business in, and who your servicer is. And the last 2 or 3 pages are the NDA, which just requires an autograph.
Yeah. As you guys can see, we're rolling through there. You get the first page there based on your individual DBA, tax ID number, type of entity, authorized contact details so Joe knows who to talk to, servicer information, which you all need to have one. If you're looking for performing, non-performing, reperforming, semi-performing, bulk, singles, both. And then also just a little bit of history. When was your last note purchase? Who did you purchase it from? How long have you been buying? What is your preferred low? Your strategy, stuff like this. This is all basic stuff that you'll see just about anywhere. And then also the state preferences that you want to circle, things like that. And then a little bit about how did you hear from us. But he's got literally the NDA here for you to sign, directions on that stuff. Not a difficult thing to fill out, everybody. It's very standard form for you. What's nice, though, too, Joe, is on your website, too, you've got other forms here for people to take a look at. So for those of you that are on the call tonight that have some assets they're looking to sell, let's talk about that, Joe. Let's talk about the fact that there's people on here who've got, maybe they've got 2, 3, 5 notes or 10 notes they're looking to move. Why don't you talk to them about what they can do to help make your job easier and make it the most efficient way for you to get the word out to your database of buyers to help these people sell those assets?
Absolutely. The success of the Note Depot is directly linked to how many times I could reach out to that buyer base with available assets. So if I don't have available assets that are supplied by sellers such as yourself, I don't have anything to put out there to send to you. So what I'm asking you to do is, should you have assets that you would like to sell, there's even a tape which is up on your screen right now, a format where you just fill in the blanks to the best of your ability. Not every blank has to be filled, but it gives me the pertinent information that all representative tapes have available to be sent out to a buyer base. So if you have assets, I ask that you look at the seller agreement, which is written in very basic terms. I explain it to you like you're a 4th grader because that's the way I explain to me. Read the seller's agreement, sign the agreement, and once you've signed it, send me your assets in that tape form so I can see where they're at. Give me a reserve price, and then I immediately will query my database and send that asset out to those who are interested in the particular state of location that your asset comes from. Cool. That starts the process, and it's all for free. Now, when I say for free, if I sell that asset for the reserve price that you provided me with, there's no cost to you. My fee comes in the form of a transaction fee from the buyer. If the buyer comes back and offers us a number, now remember, he doesn't know your reserve price, I do. If he offers us a number under your reserve price, I'm going to come back to you. If you counter with a number under your original reserve, now you've established a new reserve price. So what I ask in that buyer's agreement, if I am able to get you any more than the reserve price that you have shared with me, that I share in 25% of the overage. So if you wanted $50,000 and I got you an extra $1,000, then I ask that I get $250. You enjoy an extra $750 that you didn't even ask for. I think that's fair, and it gives me a little opportunity and a little incentive to push a little harder on your behalf.
Perfect. Perfect. Exactly. Any other questions, everybody? We had a lot of people that are like, well, hey, Scott, I got a note. One thing's to keep in mind, everybody. So you've got buyers that are looking for reperforming notes.
Yep.
REOs, non-performing. Are you doing first and seconds both if you got stuff available?
I haven't gone into the second arena. I basically put myself out with the first. I mean, I'm sure, again, that in a few months, seconds may be something that I could make available. Scott, being, again, fully transparent and upfront, this first 2 or 3 months here, I'm basically in the beta format of this whole thing, and I want to stay with what I know the best.
Mm-hmm.
Once I've got any quirks out of that model, then I may extend it, beyond that point. So certainly, first NPLs, reperformers, if they've got REOs, again, whatever your reserve price is, remember, the buyer doesn't know, but you also have to be fair with yourself and myself as to where you want to be, or nothing will ever get sold. We can always ask for the moon and never get anywhere towards a transaction. So fairness is of the utmost importance.
Right.
And lastly, from my standpoint, the LinkedIn reaction from all of you has been overwhelming. The people who have hooked up with me on LinkedIn, and I thank you profusely for that. But what's more important than the LinkedIn contact is I need the buyer profiles to get you in the database, and I need the seller's agreements to have inventory to share. That's really where the rubber hits the road.
Exactly. You've got to sign the NDA, everybody, and get that turned in for it to be considered serious. Don't waste Joe's time with phone calls or emails if you have not filled that information out with him. And so it's an easy enough form to fill out. You can literally go to the website like we showed you guys how to do that just a few minutes ago to do that. Any other questions before we get kind of wrapped up here for the evening, everybody? Joe, do you expect there to be a ton of inventory this last fourth quarter, last 60, 90 days of the year like there usually is?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously most hedge funds end their year on a calendar year. So, yes, I expect there to be a lot of offloading. Certainly we know that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have sold off a lot of assets. So there's going to be activity out there. The most important thing, which I know you drill into all your students' heads, is they need to be in a position to take advantage of this. Mm-hmm. You cannot be standing on the sideline waiting to assess the game. You got to put your cleats on and your pads on, and you got to get in there. You're not going to learn unless you get pushed around a little bit. And when I say pushed around, I think this environment here is a friendly push. You're not going to get hurt because you're dealing with people who think like you. We want to do it the right way and very transparent, and it's got to be fair to all parties concerned.
Totally agree with that. Totally agree with that. Let's see here. No, Gene. Joe cannot help you find money to get deals. That's up to you. You've got to be the one marketing, for reaching out to your database, going to meetup.com. Heck, buying IRA leads from me if you're interested. Joe's job is to move assets. It's not to help you raise funding for it. If he's going to raise funding, he's going to be taking on deals himself or doing other things, like spending more time on the golf course. You've got to realize, Gene, you've got to raise the capital. It's not up to Joe for you to get to help you with funding. You've got to be the adult here to go out and raise the capital to get things done. And I'm not, I get people like, well, I need help with this. Well, great, go do something. If you're not doing something on a regular basis to market to your database, you're shooting yourself in the foot, everybody. You got to be in business. A lot of you guys are not in business. You're in a hobby. Well, I want to dabble in this. Well, great. Go quit dabbling and go do something with it. All right? No, Joe's not here to raise capital for you. That's not his job. That's not at all what it is. All right? He's here to help you find deals for you. Get on there, fill out the buyer profile sheet in the NDA, and you'll be good to go, everybody. All right? Any other questions here before we wrap it up for the evening so you guys can get back to your regularly scheduled Columbus Day festivities? Joe, any final thoughts you want to leave everybody with before we wrap it up for the evening?
No, I just, again, thank you. I wish all your listeners nothing but the best of luck. I'm certainly available anytime for a phone call. If they have general questions or whatever, please feel welcome to give me a buzz. I encourage you to register both as a buyer and certainly as a seller if you have assets to sell. And the last parting word, which Scott has just shared with you again, you got to get in the game. Stop looking, stop sniffing, start playing, and you're going to start making money.
Amen to that, man. Amen to that. Joe, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule. Everybody, this has been recorded. There will be a replay available if you joined us late on the call. It'll be also on Vimeo. Joe will have it on his website as well once we send the link for it. Thank you guys for taking time on your busy Monday nights, your weekend. Next week, just to give you guys a little heads up on next Monday night, we're going to have Brett Palumbo with Distress Pro coming on to spend an hour with us talking about how to leverage some of the software he's doing to leverage the bank's FDIC quarterly reports to know who and what banks to target for you guys out there if you're looking at that route. So, hey, but if you're not looking, you don't have the time, get on the Note Depot, take advantage of what Joe's got available for you guys there, and we'll see you guys at the top. Have a great week, and talk to you guys later. Thanks, everybody.